All right, this is how to change the battery in a watch. In this particular watch, there's a lot of different kinds of watches. So this watch, you can see the back of it is smooth and it has these little indentations in it going around in a circle. And so there's a special tool for removing that. I've tried, before I bought the special tool, I tried putting a screwdriver in here and kind of banging it on the ground and trying to get it to spin, but it was in here so tight that that wouldn't work. So you might be able to build your own special tool too. I'll show you how that works. So to begin, I'm going to separate the watch band so that it's not bouncing around and getting in my way here. And to do that, I'm going to use a thumbtack. So on this band, there's an adjuster here where you can put it in different pins to get different tension on the band. Not different tension, but if your wrist is a different size, you can fine tune it using these holes, putting the pegs in the different holes. That would be this peg. So what I'm going to do is just stick a pin in there to pop it loose. Now you want to be careful that the thing doesn't go flying across the room when you do it. So I stick a pin in there and then that separates it. This little thing, I can just leave it in here, but it's just a basic pipe with a spring in it, and then the ends can be pushed in and out. So that tension is what holds it in the holes. So I'm going to leave that in there for now. And now we come to the special tool part of it. So this has two pins on it, and the pins are able to slide along this channel when I loosen this up to be closer or farther apart depending on the size of the watch. Now unfortunately the back of this watch is gigantic, so what you would want to do normally would be get your pins in on opposite sides, completely on opposite sides of the circle from each other, get the pins in there and then spin it around. Now on this watch, because it's so big, I'm going to just use the pins in the two that are furthest apart that I can still get to with the pins on it. Just kind of get it loose and then spin it. And you'll notice that I have my watch face down on a microfiber cloth. Obviously you wouldn't want to do this on concrete or really anything, well that'd be stupid, but anything, any kind of hard surface, you'll scratch up the front of your watch. So you want to make sure you have it on something really soft while you're doing this. So we open up the back and we see this big giant watch has a little tiny movement in it. Let's see if we can zoom that in a little bit. Perfect. All right, so now every watch is a little bit different. You can see that's the battery in there. And you can read on it the number 371. So the number of the battery, the type of battery it is going to be on the back of the battery, so you know which one to buy. And then with this watch, there's a plastic thing that holds everything in place, and then that's the actual movement. So it's probably, they designed one movement to be used for big watches and little watches, and there's a lot of extra space in there, so they put this spacer in. Now you want to make sure you observe what side of the watch battery is up. In this case, the side with the writing on it is facing up. And there's a little strap that goes over the battery, and we're just going to pop that loose here with a little screwdriver. So it's just sort of pressure fit on. Not sure which little screwdriver I'm going to need for this. Maybe even my thumbtack. Just barely hooked on here. There we go. So that little strap comes up and then the battery can be removed. And then you get a new battery. When you ask for a battery, you just want to make sure that you get one that is the same number. This number is what the person at the store needs to know, or what you need to be looking for at the store. So in this case, it's a 371 Swiss battery. It bothers me that they have all this room in here, and yet it's just a little tiny battery, so you have to replace it every couple of years. I would like it if they put a giant car battery in there and it lasted for 10 years, but they don't. So you put the battery in. make sure that the strap is snapped all the way down, and then we're just going to check, and we see second hand is ticking and the digital display is lit up. I don't know why it's lit up with all 8s, but we'll deal with that later. So now that we know that the watch is running, we put the spacer back in. It's a little bit more than a spacer. You can see that these parts here actually are operated when you push the control buttons for the digital part of the watch. So I can see that the little arms move when I push those in, so those are correct. You will also see that there's a rubber band around here to seal water out, especially if you have a waterproof watch. Like on my G-Shock watch, when I put the battery back in one day, and when I changed the battery, I pinched the waterproof band, and then it got water inside of it, and it was ruined for a year, and then it started working again after I let it sit dry for a year. And then we go back to the back of the watch. Now that we know that the rubber gasket is in its channel correctly, and then just kind of gently screw that on, get it into the threads. Pick that up. Come on, where are you? There we go. So I screw it hand tight, and then I just give it a little more with this. I'm not going to put it on super tight because I don't go swimming with it anyway. So that's probably good. And I'm working with this tool that isn't perfect. Now let's take a look at this tool while I've got it out here. So you screw that out. It's really terrible. I got this on eBay, super cheap, and you get what you pay for. I bought a watch repair kit that had a bunch of different tools in it for maybe 10 or 15 bucks. So you can see if you wanted to make it bigger, you could get a drill or a router or something and just make this channel longer. Like I would probably want to grind it out to about here, and then the pins would be far enough apart, you know, here and here, for me to be able to open bigger watches with it. So I'll do that. That's on my list of things to do. But if you go on eBay, you can get watch repair kits pretty cheap. I mean, it's roughly the same price or a little bit cheaper than paying some guy to replace your battery. That's what I figured. I love this watch. I got it in a thrift shop in New Hampshire for 20 bucks. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to spend $25 or to pay some guy to fix it every time the battery dies, which is fairly often. So back is on. Now we take our little pin, which has fallen out while I was doing what I was just doing with the watch. Put the pin back in here, and then put one end into its hole on this side. And then if you have fingernails, it helps here. So you put one end into the hole it belongs in, and then the other end kind of convinced to go in its hole, and then voila, you have your watch and you are shiny. So that's that. I hope that helps. I mean, the main point of this video was, well, like when I got it and I went to change the battery, it's like, what? How do I get this thing off? It probably screws on, but what kind of weird tool do I need? So now you know. I really much prefer the G-Shock. The G-Shock, 4 screws, that's all you need. 4 screws, and make sure you don't mangle the rubber gasket when you put the battery back in. So, thanks for watching. Go fix your watch. Alright, this is how to change the battery in a watch. This particular watch, there's a lot of different kinds of watches. So this watch, you can see the back of it is smooth, and it has these little indentations in it going around in a circle. And so there's a special tool for removing that. I've tried, before I bought the special tool, I tried putting a screwdriver in here and kind of banging it on the ground and trying to get it to spin, but it was in here so tight that that wouldn't work. So you might be able to build your own special tool too. I'll show you how that works. So to begin, I'm going to separate the watch band so that it's not bouncing around and getting in my way here. And to do that, I'm going to use a thumbtack. So on this band, there's an adjuster here where you can put it in different pens.